Not yet.
It's
Now we are.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Another
Good
beautiful
morning.
Sunday. I think the sun is shining wherever we are, anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay, and in Spain.
Everything's looking good, right? The sun's getting out and the weather's getting warmer and people are actually starting to return. It's weird in England seeing people actually, I don't know, even going out and about myself and seeing people, it feels like I've been in hibernation for the last year at least. And things are starting to wake up again as restrictions are lifted.
It's very good, right? I mean, I found my hideout or getaway place in Spain, somewhere in Spain, and I found myself this morning 7 a.m. on the beach with a coffee in my hand, preparing for this call. It's like, okay, this is something that I can get used to.
Well, we've got lambs being born in the UK. Daffodils are up. The sun is shining. Spring is very much in the air here. So, everything looks like it's becoming green, and everything is on the way up, which kind of leads us into a little bit about Elastos price, which has gone green and is certainly heading up. And that's what we're going to discuss first. And then I think we've got a number of topics that we want to pick up today. We'll talk a little bit about investment and trading and the difference between the two. We'll talk about what we're doing at the moment and our focus. And on the fact that actually we've picked up a scammer. So I think we're going to talk about scamming generally and what we have to be, what people have to watch out for if they're new.
Yeah, these are very important topics.
But yeah, sure. So we'll start, we'll talk about green candles and the fact that the Elastos price has pumped rightly, but let's not get carried away. The current price is still way below the value of Elastos. So although we're delighted that it's in double figures, it's just the start of this journey back upwards. And really, it's a journey of recognition, I think.
Chris, before we continue, shall we just make sure that everyone who watches this, listens to this, knows that this is not investment advice? We're not financial advisors.
No, absolutely not. We are not your investment advisor. Do your own research, etc., etc. We're three passionate people who have invested ourselves in Elastos and a number of other projects. I think you shouldn't put all of your eggs in the same basket. Diversification is good. But what we're really on about today is the joy at seeing one of the projects that we really love actually start to accelerate towards the price that it should be regarded at, because it still is completely undervalued.
Yeah, we're not even close.
It's been a really interesting journey, right? Because obviously we are in the CR Council, which means that we've got some ELA invested in that node there. We've got the Orchard supernode who's doing really well, and we've been really suffering for the last 3 years, pretty much. A lot of times we had to pay for maintaining the supernode out of our own pockets, and now at these prices, finally things are starting to get better. And at the same time, I find it such a difficult thing because I never really know whether I need to think about, am I a trader or am I an investor, and should I, sell some of it, or should I just keep compounding? And I find it very difficult to find a strategy for myself that works. And so.
Well, why don't we come on to that? It's a great topic to discuss. Why don't we just come on to that a little bit after having a look at the price and where we think it's going, what might happen, and where we are at the moment. Sash, have you got any views on that?
We're going to the moon, baby. We're going up.
Hey, yes.
This one's a rocket straight to the moon. It's awesome. I think we're seeing lots of price action. We're seeing volume increase, and this has been a long one in the running. It was in 2018 that I saw ELA drop below $10, and I could not believe it. And I remember messaging my friends saying, guys, like ELA has gone below 10. This is wild. And it shouldn't be valued at such a low price. And even today, the overall valuation is around 200 million as a market cap. And we're talking about a Web3 here. We're talking about a smart web. And the valuation, as the technology grows stronger, which it will, because it's deflationary, technology is just going to get better and better. But then we also have a deflationary currency, which is scarce. So we can say there's only going to be 28.2 million by 2105. So as the technology just gets more powerful over time, we're going to see it chasing new users coming on board, but chasing limited supply. And right now, I mean, Twitter has just got, I'm getting to a point where it's like I can't keep up with everything. There's the there's the trading channel, the community channel, we've got our Orchard channel, Guardians channel, there's the Elastos Honest Farmers channel, and then you've got Twitter, which is just absolutely exploding. And it's amazing to see the compounding effect that that has, as just even one new person joining the ecosystem and talking about Elastos, the effect that has, and then spurring on some other people who then it just completely, before you know it, spins out of control, and we've got a huge community.
And you can actually see in the chat in some of those groups, particularly in the community group, both a change in attitude, which I think is understandable, but also a change in the topics that are being discussed and the ratio of those. Actually, there's a lot more new people in, a lot of people asking about what wallets to use and how to stake.
Which, from a Guardian's perspective, we need that super wallet soon.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not the overly technical guy in the Guardians, but someone like Brian and M Butcher in Australia, those guys are putting in a lot of time to answer these things. So,
and I think, should we just shout out to them now? I mean, you've mentioned some of the names there, but actually, what a seriously good bunch of people who have supported this project all the way through and are so knowledgeable now after spending 3 years advising others and working on it.
And they've been getting all the hits as well, right? Because, in the bear market, when everyone is complaining about the price or complaining about anything really, they are the ones that are mentally the strongest.
Yeah,
I've got huge respect for those people because they're relentless, and they just keep on going. And big shout out to the Guardians because
So in 2017, when I invested or learned about Elastos, we were looking at an early entry price of around. It depends whether you bought in Neos or Bitcoin. But I think it was around $10.80 was the lowest you could have possibly bought it. I think that might have worked out for me because I bought some Neo earlier. But I think most people were about sort of $14 to $16 per ELA if they had invested it right at the start. And then, of course, which was one Bitcoin bought you 800 ELA in the sale, which at today's prices works out at around $75-ish per ELA if you equate it to the current Bitcoin price. So as you talk about everybody literally having to carry that weight through the bear market. Well, a lot of people lost out because from that moment where you were buying in at maybe $15, people were buying all the way up to about 60, 70, maybe a little bit more dollars, depending on what they were exchanging at the time, or buying straight into fiat currency or from fiat. So from that high price there, 3.5 years ago, we've gone right the way back down. And I think, Jochem, you bought some for like 160 or something, didn't you? I think you
I mean, for me, I've always been like when everyone is complaining and crying, and for me that's like it's a good moment to buy. So when things started to go up already towards 4 and 5, I started to get worried. So and I'm a very emotional driven person, which is not very, very good if you're in investment. So if you're investing, but when everyone was crying and there was literally blood in the streets, I felt totally comfortable. So I kept on buying more. And then when things started going up, and when everyone started to get excited, I was like, okay, so this is a good moment to get out. And I mean, I've got a life to live as well. So I mean, I've got expenses to cover. So I obviously, in the ELA, no one should ever go all out of ELA, right? So you need to have a few. But for me, it was a really interesting journey because I bought below $1.
Below $1?
I bought below $1.
Wow, I think you probably win the prize then for the lowest purchase price.
I remember it hit 85 cents or something like that for a very short period of time. You couldn't really buy it against 85 cents. I don't think that there are really people that bought it against that price, but because the moment you buy and you spend $1,000, it's always more. but
well, that's good. I mean, congratulations. I've just got to the point where I'm sort of back in the green, actually, because I sort of DCA down as much as I could. But you know, there comes a point where you just can't spend anymore.
But here's where I need some advice, because like I said, I'm a very emotional person, and I must admit that, you know, obviously we're in a node, and we've got a super node, we've got the council, which is, you know, it's very expensive for us to be in there, right? So to be a council member is actually, you know, there's quite a lot of
there's the opportunity cost as well. You know, locking up that amount of ELA means that you can't do anything with it.
But I also, like I said, I had some expenses, quite a few, and so I had to sell most of my ELA, unfortunately. But I had no other way out, and this is where I felt like, so what is then the difference between what should I do? And I don't know. And again, this is not investment advice, but I know that Sash, he's got some really clear thoughts about, you know, as an investor or as a trader, how you should look at, you know, what you're doing, pretty much. So maybe Sash, you can explain your views there.
Yeah, I mean, well, this game has levels, and I do. I'm saying that to myself more and more recently, because there's this conception that when you're in the bear market, all you want is this bull market to take place, and it's all going to be okay. Everything's just going to be magical, and golden gates are waiting for you, and it's this new world of wealth and opportunity. But actually, people are emotional and they make mistakes, and usually the start of the bull market comes out of the back end of despair. So people, you know, sell out some of their coins, and they've waited and held it for so long, and then suddenly, as the bull market manifests and they realize that they don't have what they once had, and then they see the train leaving the station, it can turn into a nightmare for people. It can be absolutely on a serious, on PTSD kind of level, it can be really challenging on your mental, on your mentality and the effect.
I don't have PTSD yet, by the way. So I've
spoken to people who have, though, and it's really like, it's a reality where, you know, you can have this shocking moment where you suddenly feel this, I can't believe it. I've spent all this time believing in something which I'm now not a part of. And then you're trying to desperately get back what you once had, without realizing that what you can have today is still absolutely fine. And people we're our own worst enemies in the way that we do things. But certainly,
it's that psychology that leads to the cycles, actually. Bob Lucas posted a little tiny story the other day about a doctor that he knew that bought at the height of Bitcoin in 2017, 18. So like around $20,000. Held it all the way through until it got back to 25, and you know, she had a lot, and then she sold it all at 25,000 because she just wanted to get back into the green, and you kind of think you've held it for all that time, and then, you know, and then boom, you sell it all, and yeah, sure, she might have made a little bit of a profit, but nothing compared with what she would have had if she just held it for that little bit longer. So, you know, I think the psychology of it is very interesting.
Okay, you have to let go of that.
PTSD now, Chris. Stop it, please.
But no, you can imagine. I mean, think of those poor Bitcoin holders who had hard
pizza guy
full of Bitcoin. Yeah, it's you know, it's just, it's difficult, but there has to be a clear distinction, as Jochem mentioned earlier, of, are you a trader or are you an investor? Because if you're an investor, you should just hold, and you shouldn't do anything, and you should set yourself a goal, like in 5 to 10 years time, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to let the technology emerge in its own pace, because I trust the team and I've done my due diligence. And in theory, that method, as soon as you have that in your head, makes life really easy. And you can just say, well, I've set myself this goalpost and I'm just sticking with it, and whatever the outcome is, it is what it is. But if you've got this trader mentality, well, traders do thousands of trades, and they're going to lose and they're going to win, but ultimately there's always another trade waiting for them. So if you're jumping in and out of coins, or you're trying to trade, but then you're also seeing your investment, you're seeing everything as an investor, it's going to beat you up. So I think there has to be that initial clear distinction. Am I an investor or am I a trader? And if I'm a trader and I trade and I sell out my coins, and then I see the price continue to rise, well, that's fine, because there's no such thing as a perfect trade, and you're not going to get the exact bottom or the exact top. So stop torturing yourself and realize that if you do take it out, especially if you take it out on profit, that is a win. You've done a great job as a trader and you've succeeded. And now you can reevaluate, and then you can find a new re-entry at some point based on technical and fundamental analysis. But
I think that's really good advice, Sash. I think having that right investor mentality, well, deciding which you want to be is crucial.
Yeah.
I think also, in order to be calm in your own mind, which is so important, and therefore as rational as possible, albeit the fact that we're not, but as rational as we can be, you should, we all know that you should only invest as much as you can afford to lose. That's the greatest line, isn't it? So
yeah.
You don't throw everything at this. You put in what you think you could live without. And if you've done your due diligence and you've researched your topics, then hopefully your investments will pay off. But that gives you a sort of level of comfort. And then I think the other thing that I've heard other people do, and there's some very respected guys that I like who have always invested, and then if it doubles, they take out half, which means that they've got their initial investment back. So everything else after that is, or they set themselves a target and they withdraw some, and then everything after that is profit. It's the you're playing with the casino's money. And again, you can go into a different mindset at that point. It's like, well, I'm up. Anything that happens, I'm up.
Yeah, I think those are super valuable insights. And also, it's almost psychological advice that we give now to people, because eventually the bear market will come back, right? So we don't really know how long this is going to take, but eventually it will come back. And it's good to know for every new investor, particularly as well, what kind of emotions you can expect and how you should deal with it, and setting your own targets and deciding which one you want to be, the investor or the trader. That's where it starts. And then, Sash, I had another question for you, because there are also a lot of, Filda is a beautiful example, a lot of places where through staking you can compound more. And what I find really interesting is that I never really know also what to do there. I mean, should I compound everything and keep it? Well, it's probably then the investor's perspective, or should I convert part of it into a stable coin? Because anything that you convert back into HUSD or USDT or any kind of staking coin or liquidity mining income that you can generate is great, but 20% on a stable coin is huge. So I never really know what to do. Should I convert 100% into stable coins and just leave it there against 20%, or should I do 50-50? Or so how do you look at those kind of really unique?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, I get messages, and also I apologize to anyone who I don't respond to, because I'm also crap sometimes on Telegram, but it's really nice. I get lots of messages from community and they ask lots of questions, and a lot of the time there's questions all about, what should I do? And it's kind of like, well, at the end of the day, guys, this is speculation. I can't really make decisions, and you as an individual have to make that. And it's almost whatever the situation, whatever the outcome, that's your responsibility to take. You have to take responsibility for that action. But certainly, I personally think when it comes to yield farming and liquidity mining, I think it's on a top level. There's very big whales who basically, when they start compounding, the price starts really lifting in the mining pools. And then when there's this kind of sell-off moment where Bitcoin dumps or something happens and the whales leave the pools, then things start to go really south quickly. But it creates a lot more volatility. And I do like the idea of trying to recognize these cycles of where you have these downturns, which we saw with Filda going down to 30 cents recently, to then its upturn where it went up to $2. And if we start this next cycle of upturn, I actually like to compound personally, because I just think I think the whales are all compounding. I think everyone goes into this mentality where you're pooling the rewards back in opposed to selling them, and you can lift up. But then it's also recognizing, well, that will eventually tire out, and it might take a month or two. But when it then starts the next cycle to go down again, it's then about, for me, taking my profits and then moving it somewhere. But I'm not as responsible in that regard. And this is where, there's the idea of a degen, and you have degenerates who are just like, all in, I don't care, I'm going for it. And this is where, for the investor side, it's like I have my ELA, I have my Bitcoin, and I look at it as my reserve asset, and I own a small percentage of the network, and it's something I will hold for a long period of time. Then I have my just wild card plays where I'm just a rational trader and I'm just throwing money in. So whenever I get messages asking advice about trading, I'm like, oh, don't ask me, because if it was me, I'd just be probably more reckless than I would advise. Especially in the market. But it's also all about where you are in life, and I think I personally can afford to be a bit more reckless now. As you know, as time goes on, I'm going to have to be more conservative.
Yeah, and I'm the exact opposite, right? So I'm extremely conservative, and like I said, I mean, my phase in my life is just different, and I can't hold that much crypto anymore because I can't be with other things. Which is fine as well. I mean, I'm still enjoying the whole experience.
Look at where you are. You're the sensible one. You're in beautiful Spain right now with an amazing backdrop. Sun is shining, and you were being really sensible a couple months ago with your rewards, and you were using those in a way which is actually benefiting you today. And it's a huge win. As I can't really say that. I'm still throwing in on the DeFi side.
Yeah, it's important because any profit is profit. And actually, we all have real lives. We can't live our entire life in the sort of digital world, looking at ones and zeros going up a digital screen. At some point, you have to translate that into real meaning, tangible meaning. And if that's because you sell some, or you just have to trade it in, even at a loss, if you have to trade it in for something that is going on in your life, then that's the decision that you have to take.
And just jumping in, just to say, ELA is now at $13.80. ELA is rocketing as we talk, so it's moving up. And I put a tweet out saying $15 by the end of this weekend. So let's see. I mean,
I tweeted something from Diesel, put something really good out. I mean, he's someone to follow. Actually, I really like his philosophy.
And his writing skill is just brilliant.
He's brilliant, yeah. So if anyone isn't following him, give him a follow because he writes very, very well, and he's a great thinker. And he loves the project. And I put a couple of tweets out, as have many people, just looking at price and where it might go in the future. And he sort of wrote a generic tweet out, just saying, "You guys are all, looking at it the wrong way. This is a multifaceted, multi-billion-dollar coin. This is trillion. Yeah, I think you might have even used that. And when you look at it with that context, and indeed what Elastos has built over the last 3.5 years, and the reserves that it still has. Let's not forget those 1,000+ BTC that are sat there waiting for further development, for use in development of this ecosystem. It is a very silent gem, and I think as people discover that, there's going to be a mad rush into a very limited supply because there isn't much of it around.
I think what's fun as well is that it doesn't take much to move at Elastos's price. A small amount of volume has a big effect, and then as soon as especially influencers talk about ELA, people then jump into the technology, buy some. It pushes the price so fast that people get so excited that then it spurs more people to join, and then it just goes more. And I think what we're seeing is a very aggressive pricing in now. I spoke about it last year about the idea of a balloon being held underwater and it wants to rise, but at some point it's going to be let go of and it's going to pop to the surface. And I think we're playing catch up now. Just to put things into perspective, there's a great website which got shared yesterday called the Coin Perspective. And it basically, you can say, well, if ELA had Polkadot's or Cosmos's market cap, what would the price be today? And so here are some fun stats, because Elastos is a Web3. It's the everything utility tool in which anything can go under it. So, you could have thousands of DeFi products, and you can have thousands of different, just everything like the internet today. So it should be a huge market cap as time goes on, and it will. But so if Elastos had Polkadot's market cap of $37.9 billion today, one ELA today would be worth $2,000. So if it had Chainlink's market cap of 13 billion today, one ELA would be worth $693. And it puts things into perspective here of obviously networks and other projects have grown so big, but Elastos is going to head that way, and it's going to, in my opinion, get bigger, because as soon as people start to realize the ease of having this tool, this suite of tools that all can work together very simply, but then also having Bitcoin's hash power securing it, this is huge. And I do think Bitcoin's hash power and its network effects is going to get bigger and bigger, and a huge part of its future, and also being resourceful with energy, is using that energy to help secure other networks. And the Elastos Smart Web, it's secured by Bitcoin. So I can only see growth from up here, and I'm so optimistic.
Yeah, yeah. And you've nailed it. Actually, I think that's absolutely right.
I think it's very interesting to see, because we're being noticed as well, right? So Chris, you already mentioned, well, profit is profit, and I've been seeing quite a lot of people that look at profit in a different way, and in a way that in our Orchard Creative Telegram group, we actually had our first scammer.
That's amazing. So what happened?
Well, I mean, apparently there's someone, a magical investor, who's called I don't know, William something, and he saved someone's life, and if you click on that link, then he will save your life as well, and then he will give you $2,000, something like that. So yeah, it's interesting to see that the number of scammers that are finding us, so us as Orchard, but also in the Telegram group is huge, and we see an influx of people just trying to scam others and community members into clicking on phishing links and that sort of stuff. And actually, I find it quite scary as well, right? Because you see that while you're growing, also the importance of the guardians, for example, increases by tenfold, because the number of scammers that and then the sad stories as well that I've heard. I heard a very sad story the other day, or yesterday actually, just because the whole space is booming and the new investors are joining. And I also just want to do a bit of a shout out to everyone, because we can expect more of these scammers as well that are trying to get a quick and easy buy.
So none of us, none of the Orchard team, none of the Guardians, nobody will be asking anybody to send them any crypto.
No.
So if anybody approaches you saying, "Hey, send me some crypto and I'll send you more back," just be very, very wary, because it's if it looks too good to be true, then it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Funny, in the Guardian chats, we get approached as well with personal messages, and if we answered half of them, I'm sure it would lead to exactly the conversation we know it's going to. But yes, Elastos Insights, one of our community members, OGs, he gets them a lot, and he messages us screenshots because he just wastes scammers' time and he plays games with them. And it's so funny, the route that he takes them down, just coming out with outrageous things, but they'll keep it going, saying, "Okay, well, have you transferred it yet?" It's like, "Oh, where, transfer it where?" I'm so confused, and just wasting all their time. It's always so fun to watch.
Well, he's doing the community a great service then in that case.
Yeah, well, that's it. But they're out there. You've got to be careful. We're never going to ask you for money, and no one in the community should have to ask each other for money. We know the deal, guys, so don't go giving money away. It's they'll get you. They obviously work. They're busy. I'd say that there are people that fall for it, and there's a really good Telegram chat called, I think, Wrecked. I'll find it. I'll put it in the description below. But basically, you can see stories of people who are getting scammed and also have made really bad decisions. And sometimes it's sobering just to actually see what's going on, because you appreciate that this stuff happens and people do fall for it, and they lose a lot of money, and it can be avoided.
I can share two recent stories. One is that someone I know, actually got in contact also via internet with someone else, and the other person after 4 months got that person to buy into I think it was Bitcoin. So very happy, did a purchase, and Bitcoin price went up, so he wanted to get out, and suddenly he realized that the website where he purchased was fake. So a normal person, a beginning investor, who found out after 4 months that he just got scammed in a horrible way. And this is something that these kind of stories you hear so often, and way too often. I have been fished a while back. So in 2017, I did some purchases, and I was super successful. Didn't make a very big investment, but my investments back then in 2017, could easily have done it 3x or something like that. And back then, people were still using IDEX, right? So IDEX was, I don't know if people still use it, I don't, but it was hugely popular. And in the Telegram group, there was someone who recreated IDEX. So they recreated the IDEX website, and it looked and felt exactly like IDEX. And someone put it up in a Telegram group, and I made a mistake of not checking the URL. It's that simple. So I clicked on the link, and I thought I was making some trades, and before I knew it, everything I had was gone. And that is extremely an extremely powerful message to yourself to have that experience. And in the end, I didn't lose that much money in terms of what I invested myself, but you feel so bad about it, and you feel you don't want to share this story with anyone, because I was super ashamed. I felt horrible. Like, how can I've been so stupid, right? I mean, I'm a university lecturer, for Christ's sake. I mean, I should be out of all people in the world, I should know how to do proper research. And I tell the same story to my students right now as well, right? Because I think that everyone should learn from these kind of experiences. So if you've got your places where you trade and you use a tool like MetaMask, for example, which is a tool that I really don't like, because of this reason, make sure that you check every URL 3 times before you even connect your MetaMask to it. Make sure that you know exactly where you are, and that because making a mistake is very easy. So these are one personal, but also another example of someone who I know, that in these times, in this bull market, this is also where you see the scammers thrive the most, which is very sad. But again, big shout out. Make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Because it doesn't feel very good if it happens to you.
No, not one to want to get caught up in, and they're all out there. Yeah, the Telegram channel is called Wrecked Plebs. So we need to get you guys. I need to avoid any of us becoming wrecked plebs.
Well, sage advice that, Jochem, and heartfelt too. So I think you're absolutely right. Even if it's one of your own errors, and you think you might have sent coins to the wrong address, oh my God, the feeling in your heart, when you realise that you could have just lost it all, is extraordinary. So check your URL.
I talked with many people back then. So many people I shared this story with, and I talked with someone who sent me a DM, and he said that he got scammed over 100 Bitcoin once when the Bitcoin price was a lot lower. But so there are many of these stories out there. People losing in today's value tons of money. And actually,
well, in many ways, I think it was probably easier when there were fewer exchanges and on-ramps for fiat. When you actually had to either buy your Bitcoin at a market where you literally handed over some fiat cash to someone and they gave you a code, or in the early days, and there still are lots of personal, people-to-people, P2P websites where you can exchange your currencies. But now there are some really good trusted mechanisms that people can go on. So, we can mention them. We're not sponsored by them, but Coinbase, Nash. There's lots of others where you can actually convert your cash into Bitcoin or Ethereum or something very easily.
I like Wobi. Wobi is pretty good.
Wobi, yeah, exactly. Well, in fact, all the big ones now, so Binance and Bittrex and others, are all allowing you to connect your fiat wallets, and you can buy in. And I think that's definitely the safest way to onboard. But then, of course, you then have to take the decision about where you store your currencies. But we won't go into that now. But but you know, if not your keys, not your coins, you know, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Anyway, we seem to have gone down an extraordinary rabbit hole, but I think a very good warning after our enthusiastic start. And Bitcoin and Elastos going hand in hand upwards today, so that's good. And so should we just spend the next few minutes just thinking about what we've been doing, because we haven't really been able to focus on price or using our leveraging our coins very much in the last week or two, because we've been so focused on what we're doing as Orchard. And I love your hat, Sash. So why don't you start about what we're doing?
Yeah, no, representing today. But it's been busy. It's been super busy. Yeah, the chats have been all popping off and price has been rising. And yet we've been really focused on both our website and the graphic elements, which is going to be rolled out in the coming weeks alongside our white paper. And what is our core message and what is it we're trying to build here as Cordial? And it's becoming clearer and clearer. And I do believe, and this is something that we were told as well as a team, that true innovation and getting to the end goal isn't this straight line of easy and, you know, a straight line of success. It's all about hundreds, if not thousands, of small iterations you make along the way. And as you change this, as you navigate this path and make these iterations, it takes you to this end goal. And even for ourselves, you know, HCAS was talked about around a year ago now, so it's been a process as far as for ourselves, and we have slowly but surely been tweaking it to a point now where, as the white paper's coming together, which we're really excited to share, it's starting to feel like, okay, guys, we know what we're building now, and we're actually getting more and more excited for it.
And not just what we're building, but how it will be built and over what time frame, and what's built simultaneously and what's built in sequence. You know, all of those things are being thought about now, and actually they're becoming much firmer they are now firm in our minds. Yeah,
and we're obviously talking to the right people, and we've had some incredible advice, and we're being connected with everything from legal representation to the IDO aspects and the platforms which we want to release on, and just there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and we're learning how it needs to be played. And it's without giving too much away, it's increasingly getting more and more exciting, and it's, I think, giving us extreme purpose right now to just keep our heads down and be busy. But
I think it's a really good thing to say, actually. Extreme purpose. You know, we have a unity of effort at the moment because we're all focused on the white paper, on establishing literally the foundations that we need in order to move forward, you know, at a legal, a compliant method of going forward, so that we can uphold those values that we have talked about for the last 3 years, and drive this project so that it has a meaningful effect.
And what is really interesting about it is that whoever I talk with, and I talk with so many, I mean, we can't talk about any partnerships or anything yet, but I talk with so many different people from so many different projects, and the whole space is just super supportive. And when people hear about our story and the route that we want to take, we get so much support from also in unexpected corners, where, you know, the story of Cordial itself is very exciting, and where we want to take it to is even more exciting. And from that perspective, I find the whole space pretty collaborative at the moment and pretty supportive, which is totally awesome. And every person I talk with, you know, comes up with advice on how to do this properly, and everyone wants to be part of it. And that by itself is a really cool experience, because I think that what we've got right now and what people will be able to read in our white paper is really going to add a huge amount of value in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and as we build more and we move on it, everything around us seems to be getting more traction. And as you say, it's so supportive, and it feels like there's this whole support system of guidance for us, which has been really eye-opening just to learn how this works. But certainly, we're seeing a bigger gravitational force kind of surround us as people kind of come to help. And from my perspective, back in university, I remember I was setting up, this is part of my university doing production, and I was setting up a 10-piece dub and soul band. And I remember myself and a friend of mine called Jim, we put together the team. We had 10 people, 8 musicians. Jim and I were the producers. And I remember walking down the head row of Leeds thinking, God, I don't know half of these people that we're talking to. I'm kind of nervous. I'm a little bit like, I don't know where this is going to go. But we went and had this session, and I took this leap, and on the other side, there was ground, and it led us to go do amazing tours around Europe. We created music together. We had these insane experiences for the following 3 years. And it just, I would never change that for the world. And so there's this feeling of when you take leaps, something catches you on the other side, and you can go and have an incredible journey. And that's what it feels like. As far as Orchard, it's been now 3 years, but really it's been 3 years of us building trust, and we've kind of found people that we can work with. And now we're starting to begin the process of taking a leap, and it's super exciting. And what's ahead, in my opinion, will be hopefully something really productive to society as well, and it will have a great effect. So it's I think a good lesson for everyone. If you have something that you're passionate about and really want to pursue, take the leap, go for it, because something will catch you on the other side. And even with the band that I set up today, it's not together, but you learn lessons from it and you then push forward. And I think with what we're building in Cordial and the people and support network we have around us, we can really achieve something very cool.
Yeah,
I'm very much with you,
Sash.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I've talked about a certain gravity. I think because we have spun together, we have worked off one another, we support one another in part of that broader ecosystem of the Elastos community and then wider. And actually our little project, I think, because we are creating the mass in the center, it's creating its own gravity. So more and more people are pulled towards it as well. And I think that will just continue to happen. As you talked about compounding earlier on, it's the same sort of thing in that, we've clearly got a good idea which other people support and like, and therefore they want to be part of it and they join, and then other people hear that they've joined, and these partnerships grow, and then the idea grows, and we can change direction because we have done. But the idea that we've got and the way that we're going to take it forward, I think, is going to do exactly what you said, Sash. We've been brave enough to courageous enough to take that leap, and I think it's going to. Well, I know, actually, I can feel it now. It will work, and it's brilliant. I love the white paper, even in its 4th edition.
Yeah,
it'll be the 5th edition by the end of today. And then we'll release it out. And so if anyone out there is actually interested in what we're doing, then of course you can go to our website and you can just register your email address, and we're not going to sell it, but we will put you on the list. And if you sign up early, then you may well find yourself on an early list of adopters. So sign up for our white paper and our information, and stay in touch with us.
Yeah,
maybe just briefly to go back to the taking the leap, because I just realized a quote from someone who said, what is the best thing that can happen? So if you're a very negative kind of person, you always think about, okay, what's the worst case situation? What's the worst thing that can happen? But our mentality has always been, what's the best thing that can happen? And we've done that as Orchard, and we've been growing and trying to contribute to the growth of the Elastos ecosystem for 3 years throughout the bear market. We've been pretty relentless. We've never stopped. And also our mentality now is, what's the best thing that can happen? And that's what we're working towards. Yeah. And that is just really, that kind of mentality really helps a lot as well, because it brings in the positivity that you need for these kind of.
And our approach is not just what's the best thing that can happen for us, but actually, as you both mentioned, it's a project that is going to bring benefit to many people. We're talking about disintermediation, so we're going to be hopefully transferring wealth in ways that is not currently possible, and because there isn't a site that allows you to do that. And we're going to be helping people to level up, bring equality, and yet at the same time, make sure that their value is transferred into a wealth that they can spend in some form.
Yeah, the internet itself, and I'm taking somewhat from George here, but the whole purpose of the internet was how do we capture knowledge? Yeah. And it's so true that in everything that's built in the internet, it's all about sharing knowledge and having this economy which has been built. But the problem is that economy is built on Web 2, which is all very centralized and it's being monetized by the few. And if we can break that up, give people digital identities and then allow them to transact their knowledge for fair reward, suddenly you're creating a knowledge economy in the Web3 world, which is going to be extremely beneficial. Everyone gets paid for it. You can have a secondary market where knowledge is basically minted like NFTs, or it can be staked in data trusts. And then that can be paid out to everyone who participated in the creation in microtransactions. And really the vision here is actually getting increasingly bigger, but what it can do for the world, and you could be anyone in any pocket of the world, and being an expert in anything can come from being an expert in your local, just living in an area and knowing what it's like to live there, to then being a real expert in the field. But everyone is experts in their own right. And a lot of the time, there's a lot of untapped knowledge that just goes wasted, which can be in a Web3 world used and monetized in a really productive way. And then you can use AI then to really go in. And this is where I get super excited, because it's using AI for good in a way that you can connect people, but also train AIs, but then reward the people who gave the data to the AIs to train them. So then suddenly everyone's getting rewarded, and it's a massive scope.
Should we do a chat next week all about what we're doing? Should we make that the focus of next week?
I think so. I think once our white paper is finalized and we can then give a link, we can have a good in-depth chat about it.
I think that would be good.
We can walk people
won't
through
do
it.
justice in a couple of minutes.
It's hard, isn't it? But it's certainly really exciting, and just all around, everything's looking up. We're seeing the price lift. We're seeing projects starting to build. I'm very excited to see Profile unroll their product more. I think there's going to be a real collaboration there and what we can do together. And then we're seeing CreDA coming. We had a really good call out the other day just to learn more about CreDA. And again, I think people are underestimating the scale in what CreDA is trying to offer. They've got Tencent guys helping engineer it. The VP of Tencent has left to be leading the team. And you're essentially building a credit compute where you can turn your data around you into a credit score, which then you can use to take out loans, but without the need to have collateral. And that's a huge step in what was talked about to us in the discussion. Was Compound, the DeFi product, came out last year, was a truly innovative product in that you could have a decentralized bank. Now, Filda is a fork of Compound, and then CreDA is going to be in Feng's and the team's eyes is going to be the next step of innovation this year. So they're going to bring the next level in which you can then leverage your credit score to take out loans without collateral, and you can mine off-chain data as well as on-chain data with third parties, and collectively basically add data with permission to your digital identity, but then enable wealth to come from that. So again, that's a whole nother conversation we should have. And I think at the moment,
the architect behind this, of course, is Sunny Feng Han. So we've had Filda, we've had Filecoin, we've got CreDA and ELA, Elastos, all working together in some sense, which is building this wider ecosystem, and very exciting to be able to watch that actually with one of the co-founders of Elastos trying to pull it, actually pulling it together.
To be really clear, from what we've been told, which is, I believe, fine to be shared, is that there's around 100 people that's working on CreDA, and the target for them for the end of this year is to have 10 million users. And this is obviously a huge number, and I believe from their perspective it comes with the cooperation with the government and the district in China, and they're really trying to unroll this product now into a real world use case. And I think for a lot of stuff I see on Twitter and for a lot of shills that happen to do with crypto projects, I do think people miss what's going on in the East. And if people are aware of these products and what's going on, and then just from my perspective as a macro I love macroeconomics, looking at the bigger picture, how can you have a bird's eye view of what's going on and then use that to your advantage, zoom out as much as possible. And from a macro perspective, like Asia is up and coming as the next superpower. It's just the reality. And what we're seeing now is the West having a monetary system which is coming to an end, and it's lasted them really well. And we're moving into this new world where actually Asia is going to probably start to rise, and you can see it in the macro charts and the way and directions they're both going. And yeah, I mean, in the 50s.
Anyone listening who's still with us right now will probably be like, oh, well, 10 million users as a goal. That's going to be interesting. I'll dive deeper into that. So this is,
yeah,
I think a nice present that you just gave me.
Let's hold off on the macros, the full macro story for today. Why don't we save that and what we're doing on a micro level, and we can link the two next week. I think that would be a really good way to do it. So why what's the context in which Cordial World fits actually, and why is it so relevant for today? I think would be a really good topic for next week.
I think you're right. And just to finalize on that, I think the point I'm making is that China and Asia are very quick at implementing new ideas and things across their population. And right now, I'd say with their digital currency and with these new rollouts happening with technology and going across into the citizens' hands, the West really needs to be quick on their side. And I think from America's perspective, they do need to have a digital dollar soon, and they really do need to push forward and be effective in opening up innovation and the blockchain world. I still can't believe that Americans can't buy ELA or buy anything on Huobi, for instance. I can't believe that they can't participate in ICOs. And it just seems like the restrictions, and talking to the guys in the community who are in America, they are so stringent and tight, and they need to start really opening up. And I think they are as far as Kraken. I know Kraken have been really good as an exchange. I'm trying to think of the area in which they've set up, but there's certain states which are extremely Wyoming,
yeah,
very, very inviting. But
I mean, I worked in America in 2003 to 2004, and you couldn't pay for very many things by debit card. You know, you actually had to sign a paper check and hand it over, otherwise they wouldn't trust you. And you
it's still the same, Chris. I was in America a year and a half ago, just before lockdown, and everything is still, you sign your slip, and they go then take your card and they swipe it for you. And it's crazy. I mean, I'm sure in the main cities they're getting better, but generally speaking, it's still very old school.
And then when you look at what has happened, and you know, the East is not about to rise; it's risen, really. I mean, and when you look at how far advanced they are, if you go to China, you can't actually really spend paper money. No. Everything is on your phone. And Tencent and Alibaba and the equivalents are enormous beasts, and the population is huge. So it's a marketplace that, as many are aware of, is one that needs to be tapped into and will provide an enormous amount of wealth globally. But anyway, we said we weren't
run away. We weren't run away with this otherwise. It's a dangerous topic.
Yeah, so let's hold off, because we're so excited about it. We can talk about it well next week, I hope. And what we can do then is bring into that conversation what we're going to build, what Cordial World is, and we'll let you know how you can sign up and be part of our an early sale, perhaps even. Early adopters, early followers will be rewarded, I'm sure.
Yeah, but really well done to everyone who's with us, and thanks for joining us. You know, we're seeing the whole market lift up, and it's so exciting to be a part of this journey. I'll always say that Elastos and ELA is my home. I doubled down on it as far as, you know, during the bear market, I made a decision that this is where I want to be. The community, as far as the people I talk with, are just great thinkers and just great people. And as time goes on, being a part of this journey is just always so special. So it's great to be a part of this journey, and it's great to see just everything starting to look a lot more optimistic, because 6 months ago, had you said we'd be where we were right now, everyone would be. I
think many people would. Would criticize that, definitely. But you know, and it's just the early days of the price discovery. And I think you're right, Sash. That balloon that's been held underwater is now being released slowly, and I don't even think all of the strings are being cut. I mean, if this pops, it's going to absolutely go. Again,
I'm super ELA maxi guy. And Jochem, you're the one that kind of grounds me, which is good. But I believe that ELA is going to all-time high and beyond. Like, I think we're playing catch-up now, and we're going to see some big price action in the coming months. But so long as the teams continue to do what they're doing, delivering tech updates and making Elastos better, I can only see it getting more traction as time goes on. Where we really need to focus, in my opinion, is the developers now. And actually, I don't think people quite realize, and the smart chain, we need to get an update from the foundation. Where is that out? But ultimately, with the amount of innovation and products that have been built on Ethereum, that can all be forked into the Elastos ecosystem. And I don't think people realize how much mining, you could look at it as, there could be done to building new wealth by taking code that's already available and migrating it onto Elastos, and what can bring as far as value to themselves, but also to the ecosystem. We're learning quite heavy that projects go to Ethereum to innovate. So you go to Ethereum to basically raise funds in order to basically create new products. But when innovation is made and it's open source, you can then take that innovation and move it onto other chains. And especially if they're Ethereum virtual machine compatible, you can almost dot yourself around the whole kind of wider picture. But certainly there is a lot of already pre-made innovation that is sitting as code on Ethereum that is just open. And I'm hopefully down the road excited to fork some of that myself.
Yeah. I find it such an interesting view, because that also means that, no one is really competing with Ethereum. I think that even from that perspective, Ethereum has become something completely different, because it's become, a huge innovation hub, and that by itself is worth the $2,000 that it is at right now as well, right? So
yeah.
So it might, it might never be used for a lot of different use cases, because they might need to go somewhere else. But the innovation always all happens on Ethereum, nowhere else. And that is just, I find that super inspiring. I really find it super inspiring. So I'm not an ELA maxi, but obviously, I've been in the community since 2017, and I've stayed for a reason. And the big reason is definitely the people. But I also don't really worry about competing with Ethereum or whatever they will come up with in the next 5 to 10 years, because what they have become is something different than what Elastos is, and the huge innovation hub and the innovation power behind it is something that everyone can benefit from. Anyone in the space can benefit from, and I've got great respect for that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it really is. Well, guys, I'm guessing you've got a good Sunday ahead of you. Rest of you, Jochem, I'm sure you need to get the sun lotion on, and you're out to get the tan.
It's actually quite cold here, to be honest. So,
well, the sky is blue, the sun is shining. We should end where we started, I guess, which is that we're feeling good about life at the moment. The grass is green, the candles are green, everything in the spring is looking healthier and better. I think we're as a world we're waking up to how we can operate differently. And as Elastos, we're being discovered, which I think is only right. And I think being recognized is one of the most important things for anybody's self-worth. So for Elastos, that's fantastic.
I think so. I think people, if we're being brutally honest, are buying ELA as an investment to make money on. But in doing so, and they're finding out through big influencers, but in doing so, it opens up the ability to learn about what they've invested in, learn about the community, and then learn about the technology. And I'm seeing so many tweets where people are basically saying, I bought some ELA, I've learned about the community, and I love it. That's exactly what we're about, and we're building a fairer and more sustainable future using new digital technologies. And it's just seeing these new faces coming on, and it's hard to keep up with it, but certainly it's where we're headed. And so guys, just remember to like and subscribe, give the thumbs up, and we're going to leave some links below, and we'll leave some links for as well. Actually, go to cordial.world, and you can sign up as well to get information on the upcoming IDO and any upcoming information that we can provide as we go. Obviously, we're going to the internet itself. The website itself is getting updated as we go. We've got a graphic designer who's working on that, and then our white paper too. So right now we're kind of in draft mode, but things are going to start ramping up, and it's going to get more and more exciting as we go. So if you want updates, go to cordial.world, like and subscribe here. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah,
Have a great weekend. See you later. Bye.